I'm sitting here with Greg Smith. Really, it's Gregory, isn't it? Gregory Z. Smith.
There are quite a few, yes, as you say, Gregory Z. Smith. There are quite a few Greg Smiths, some different spellings, but yeah, the Z sets me apart.
There you go. And you are the director of the Doña Ana Arts Council.
That is correct.
Great. Tell us a little bit about the Doña Ana Arts Council. It's a non-profit organization. Just tell us a little bit.
It's been here for about almost 50 years. Okay. And so basically it's supporting the arts, it's encouraging the arts. We have a multifaceted approach to what we do. And of course our vision is a community where the arts thrive. But it's more than just the arts. It's about the community itself thriving because of the arts. So I think it's a two-way street. We encourage the arts encourage both tourism and our sense of pride in our own community. So gotcha. All of that, I think, is a really part of a whole thing that goes together really well. And we're very fortunate to have such great artists here.
Yes. It's a rather large organization. I looked around. And the facility is a beautiful facility.
Thank you.
How is that funded, Greg?
Well, we have a major fundraiser each year, and this year, 2020, with the coronavirus, we're going to be having to do this differently. But our greatest amount of funding comes each year from the Renaissance Arts Fair. And so that
is held here in Las Cruces, in the park area. Say a little bit more about that. I was there the last year, the first time.
It's going to celebrate its 50th anniversary next year in 2021 as well.
Okay.
And it's in Young Park.
Right.
It's been at various places over the years, but it's been in Young Park for a number of decades.
Very well attended.
Very well attended. Basically just one of those things that people expect. As I said, this year is a little different. But
when did you make the decision not to hold the festival?
Well, we were basically sort of holding it, but not necessarily on the scale that we have in the past. It'll probably be more online. We're looking at a location where the food trucks, where people can keep their distance, and food trucks and performers can have an enjoyable afternoon, that sort of thing. On the first weekend in November.
Okay.
And so we typically have done that over the years at Young Park, as you pointed out. This year will be different. It'll be much smaller scale, but we'll also be doing a lot of things online.
So that's where the majority of your funding for your organization comes from? Can you name a number?
Well,
approximately. It's just
probably in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $60,000.
Okay.
And then we have an arts fair each year, the Las Cruces Arts Fair in March, which is probably our second largest fundraiser of the year, and it also probably in the $30,000 to $40,000 range.
Okay.
Raises a lot of money, and once again, this coming year, we're hoping we can do that again. We did really well, but the coronavirus was kind of nipping at our heels this year.
Right. So you don't have an endowment fund or anything?
Well, we do have. The endowment fund that we have is for the Career Art Paths program for our young people.
Okay.
And so basically it's set up to help make sure that young people have opportunities to learn.
So it's not an operating fund?
No.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
So basically that money is available. It's very much appreciated. Jordan Woolley and his late wife Marion basically got that started for us with the idea that young people could learn about careers in art. And it's been very successful. This year we've had to take that online as well, and it's in a much modified form. So basically 2020 is not your typical year at all as far as the kind of offerings we've got. But we also get grants. We have a very large support base of artists and art, collectors and art enthusiasts in this community, classes and other events during the year.
If anybody's interested, who's watching this video right now, I noted when I went to your site, there's a donate button, any amount. So if they feel,
believe me, we would love any amount. But we're actually looking at modifying the levels at which people can contribute, and looking at that. And I have to get board approval before I get into too much detail about that. But basically, we're looking at an approach where people are members, and they accumulate over the years, and they arrive at different levels.
Right.
But looking at that from the standpoint,
just right now, if somebody has an interest, Great.
we would love to hear from people.
Greg, go a little bit more in detail about the idea, purpose, and especially the vision of the Dona Ana Arts Council. In other words, when people go to your site, there are exhibits, events, concerts, workshops, I mean, you name it. Tell us a little bit about that. Like I said, the idea, the purpose, and the vision, if you may.
Well, certainly. You know, as I said, it's a multi-pronged approach. It has to do with the economics of our area. It has to do with our pride in our area. It has to do with our culture, our history, and individual sense of accomplishment. So,
is it a mirror of what this community represents in its form of art and so forth?
You know, that's an interesting way to look at that. I would say that in many ways it does reflect what we have going on. In some ways it's hopeful. You know,
and it's also a thriving force, wouldn't you say? I mean, a motivator.
Certainly. We look at ways to encourage artists. I want us to do more. And ways to acknowledge the people who have contributed. We have one of our events is the Community Arts Awards each year, where we give awards to people who promoted the arts or encouraged the arts in public places or education in the arts. So there are a number of ways that we try to acknowledge both the artists and the people who support the arts in our community over time. And so, as I said, it's not just helping the artists, although that's a big part of what we do. We have an artist directory with about 400 artists on it, and that will be uploaded soon to the website if it isn't already. But in addition to that, we are looking at how we integrate the arts into our community from the standpoint of to some degree, the arts are already here. They're already an active part of what makes Doña Ana County, Las Cruces, Mesilla, the special places they are. But in addition to that, you know, one of the things I'd like for us to do is help artists get with local businesses to place art in those businesses. A lot of times, you know, you see commercial art, a sofa-sized painting somewhere.
Right.
But what I would like for us to do is more actively participate in putting the artists together with the businesses.
Would you see it then in that case as a organization that is the overseer of an organism? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many...
Cultivating an organism, helping it grow, nourishing it.
Yeah.
I would say so. I mean, you know, we have so many different approaches to the arts in this community, and so many different people doing their different kinds. I mean, one of the things I love about Alma de Arte, the arts charter high school, is that they included culinary arts and performing arts. And oftentimes people sort of narrow down and they're thinking only music or only, you know, visual art and that sort of thing. And one of the things that I've been talking about is broadening the spectrum of our community that is reached by a broader range of the arts, so that we're including everyone, we're including more of our community in more of a range of the arts. And so that, I often think of Steve Jobs as far as what he did as far as computers, you know, Apple, I'm sorry to use a brand name, but what they did basically was they integrated something that a lot of engineers didn't think was part of engineering, and said, let's marry these two arts or these two sciences, and they ended up with products that people wanted. Yeah. And I think that can be expanded out, and you see this happening a lot in Silicon Valley and other places, but expanding that out to where what we do integrates with the arts. And from an economic and employment standpoint, you look at how many jobs are becoming automated, how many jobs, you know, you can go to a number of businesses and there's an automated checkout. Soon we'll be seeing, they're already on the roads, but we don't always know it, automated vehicles, and we'll see more and more of that. And more jobs will be going that way. What are we doing as far as employment? Well, we'll need teachers, we'll still need doctors, we'll still need people in a lot of areas, but I also think it'll be hard to replace artists in a number of different fields with machines. So I think that's an area where we in Las Cruces have our foot in the door already, as far as the number of artists we have, the emphasis on arts here, and how we build that up and say, this is a viable form of employment. And even if it's not your main
and
form
income for a community.
Yeah, well, absolutely, because we become a destination. We become a destination for people who want to come here for classes, for people who want to come here to buy art, for people who want to be here for live performances, for people who want to eat green chili, flavored dishes from all kinds of things.
Where in that do you see online art? I mean, more and more, you now see more online art and so forth. Where do you see that? Do you think that's another step where you guys will function?
We've had to. I mean, basically, our gallery was closed for a couple of months, and the only way to actually see the art was online. I will tell you that much like shoes, many of us don't want to purchase art without actually seeing it in person or trying it on, if you will. And I think that's true. I myself have bought a couple of pieces of art online in the past, but in the end, you really want to have it. I mean, to see how the light plays on it, to see what happens.
It may just be one step in that direction to engage the customer. While we're on the subject of artists, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think the audience deserves to know that who, in your estimation, historically, meaning from now till whenever this was started, is